If you are anything like me and believe you better know what you're doing if you're going to carry concealed, and you got a home here. Welcome to the Ghost Show, celebrating all things outdoors in this beautiful outdoor playground of a state, nation, and world that we live in. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and being with us. As promised, I did say that I would share the 3 C's of concealed carry with our man Tim Forshee. Today, I'm going to be posting this as a 3-part series on YouTube as well. So check that out. That the first installment will be today, which will probably be the first C. So how about all that? Holy cow, we got a lot going on. Right out of the gates, I would like to say a big happy birthday to the Queen Bee herself. She is celebrating the 6th anniversary of her 39th birthday, and very, very happy to be spending the day with her and this evening as well. And then there'll be more celebrations tomorrow, and then there'll most likely be more celebrations on Sunday. More of a birth weekend than anything else. But to my lovely happy birthday, and I've already sang happy birthday several times. So there we go. I've already done that. Yeah. Woke up with the coffee and the muffin and all that with a candle. I'm not going to say I'm the greatest boyfriend in history. I'll leave that for everyone else to say. Just throwing it out there. Yeah. And wait, what's up, Lynn? And I don't think she's watching right now, so I think we're okay with that. I got her a really cool camping chair, reclining camping chair. Really cool. And her and I are going to learn how to dance. I'm very excited to get on a just old dance floor and just spin her around. She's spinnable. All right, let's go. Oh, thank God Grizz is not here. Okay. Anyway, the 3 C's of concealed carry. So I'm going to dip in and out of this, and I'm excited to share it. This is Tim Forshee, quite literally the most intelligent legal mind I have ever known. Well, yeah, actually he is. Yep, he truly is, and especially when it comes to firearms and carrying concealed. So let's dip in. You're gonna learn some really, really cool stuff here. And again, this is Tim Forshee talking about the 3 C's of concealed carry. And again, joining me is Tim Forshee, attorney at law. He's the guy I go to every time I have any question about anything legal, especially when it comes to my Second Amendment. Tim, somebody sent me a while back, and I want to break this down three different sections if we could. You said There's 3 C's of concealed carry, and I love alliteration, so if we can get into all these C's and then concealed carry, that's 5. It's fantastic. What's the first? Obviously, I would think that, and I would assume the first C of the 3 C's of concealed carry is concealment, correct?
It is. Well, you figured that out, Mike. And by the way, alliteration is always awesome. Let's not forget that. So
yes, it is. Yes.
I would say the 3 C's. If people can just remember these 3 simple rules when it comes to carrying a gun, they're going to stay out of trouble. They're not going to need a gun, or they're not going to need a lawyer to defend them because of a gun. And that should be the goal, right?
Right.
So, as you said, the first is concealment. And I think people sort of tend to take that for granted, but you shouldn't. It's very important. I would say, in the over 30 years I've been doing this, I would say 94% of the clients that I've had to represent with regard to shooting cases made the mistake of letting somebody know they had a gun. Now, obviously, if you have to use the gun, it kind of goes without saying that people are going to know you had a gun. But a lot of times it's just somebody who pulls a gun when they shouldn't, or exposes a gun that they're carrying concealed when they shouldn't, in the wrong place, that sort of thing. And they get into trouble. Obviously, the former can get you into a lot of trouble. The latter can get you into a little trouble, but trouble's trouble. And if you can avoid trouble, that's a good thing. So, just making sure that you understand that you're truly concealed. That's usually important.
Because anything can be considered brandishing, correct? I just love using words that are cool.
Yeah, we don't have brandishing is a great word. We don't have a crime called brandishment in Arizona like they do in a few states. They used to have it in Texas. It was an actual crime they would charge you with called brandishment. But since they finally passed open carry in Texas, they got rid of that law there as well. But basically, brandishment would be, to me, displaying your firearm in some manner that is inappropriate, whatever that would be. So that could simply be carrying open, I think, in many respects. That's why, I actually will stop and ask people when I see them carrying open on the street, hey, why are you carrying open? I don't know if you realize it, but we don't have a concealed weapons law per se in Arizona anymore. You can actually just cover that gun with your shirt without a permit even, and it's perfectly legal. And 80% of the time they tell me to FO and mind my own business, and 20% of the time they answer me, and about 90% of that time I get the same answer, why you're carrying open. And the answer is because I want people to back off and leave me alone. Okay. And that's so stupid on so many levels. It's tactically, it's very, very stupid. People don't realize that about 1/3 of all the police officers who die in the line of duty in this country each year are killed with their own weapon.
Okay. I'm not going to paint over that, guys. I mean, seriously, think about that. A third of police officers who die in the line of duty are killed with their own service weapon. That's because it's accessible, because it's easy to see. So again, going over the 3 C's of concealed carry with Tim Forshee, the first C is concealment. You don't need to let anybody know you got anything. You don't let anybody know you got a piece. And you sure as heck don't need to let anyone know that you can that they have access to it. Let's go back to it. Really?
And those are cops who have 2 or 3 weeks of training on the mats, and they're in the academy, and they've got a $600 level 3 retention device on their holster, and still fully a third of them are killed with their own weapon. So if you're just standing in line at a fast food joint and I'm standing behind you and your gun is hanging off your hip in a nylon holster, basically you're dead if I want you dead.
Yeah.
You know, you're not the people that you're scaring off are not the people that you want to scare off. You're not scaring off the leader of the Hells Angels. That person's salivating about how they're going to take your gun and shoot you with it and sell it for meth later. The person you're scaring is the 28-year-old teacher that just moved here from Maryland and her 2 toddlers, and they're freaking out and running out of the store screaming. You're not helping the cause much. Just, carry concealed, please, please, please. It's legal to walk around as a man. It's legal to walk around without a shirt on. If I did that, I'd be causing riots all over the city. I mean, my God, people would be freaking out like it was Godzilla. Just because it's legal doesn't make it smart, so don't do that. And the thing about concealment too, Mike, is a lot of people tend to think that simply means that you can't see the gun. And I always point out concealment means a lot more than that. Okay. If I can't see your gun, but I can see a giant bulge under your shirt. If I can't see your gun, but I can see you constantly touching the same spot on your right hip or pulling up just the right side of your pants. If you walk through a door jam and I hear 2 pounds of cig hit the door jam instead of your hip, it's pretty obvious that you're carrying a gun. I don't have to see the gun to know that you're carrying a gun. So people need to take concealment a lot more seriously than they do. So,
and it's uncomfortable at times. Let's be real. It takes a while to get used to it.
It does take a while to get used to it, just like a belt or I assume a brassiere. It takes a while to get used to it, but once you get used to it, you feel naked without it. And it's just one of those things. And by the way, there's an old saying from Clint Smith: it's not supposed to be comfortable; it's supposed to be comforting, and that's something to think about. But also, if your gun's uncomfortable, if it's painful to carry, you got the wrong holster or the wrong gun or in the wrong place. So there's a bajillion holsters out there now. Find one that works for you that doesn't hurt, and then settle on that and carry your gun. That's
or a fanny pack.
Yeah. Well, fanny packs are coming back, actually, believe it or not. They're really coming back. If you do carry a fanny pack, please don't.
Okay, just don't carry a fanny pack, okay? Please don't carry a fanny pack. I'm playing my conversation with Tim Forshee about the 3 C's of concealed carry. Please don't carry a fanny pack. That's my PSA. Please.
Don't let it be one of those just black, Cordura nylons that just scream Glock. I remember back in '94 when we first got the law, and I was one of the first people in the first class to get my permit in '94, and everybody had these giant black fanny packs, and it was like, people would walk up to you and go 1911 or Glock, because those are your choices in '94, basically, right? So it just screamed gun. Now they've got smaller ones, they've got brighter color. I actually have one that's bright red, and I had a friend embroider the word Kodak in bright gold letters across the front of it, just as camouflage. And I know it works to some degree because I've had people come up and ask me questions about what's my f-stop setting for a sunset in Arizona, and I don't know anything about photography. So I just have to speak French and walk away and pretend like I didn't understand.
Or say 9mm or 45. What did
exactly. So but fanny packs are making a comeback. So, but you can definitely find a way to carry your gun concealed. Mm-hmm. So stick with that and do that and make sure. To me, the only definition of concealed that makes sense is no one knows you're carrying a gun. Okay. Well, I literally was in Ace Hardware in my neighborhood during COVID at some point. That point in COVID when we realized that the virus couldn't jump a full 6 feet, it could only jump 5.5 feet.
Right.
Yes. So we could go out again, but we had to stand on yellow circles. So I was standing on my yellow circle, and I decided to tempt the gods a bit. So I took about a half a step towards the guy in front of me to see if I was going to get a face full of virus. And instead I got a face full of Hoppy's number 9. I could literally smell this guy's gun.
Wow.
So I told people that's enough. Don't walk around with Hoppy's number 9 dripping off of your gun, because everybody like me is going to smell it and know what it is. So using your sense of smell, your observational skills, your sense of hearing, you can determine that somebody's carrying a gun that ain't concealed. So you should always carry concealed. Yeah.
Which is the number 1 rule, the number 1 C in the 3 C's of concealed carry. So Grizz, welcome. You've already missed some T-balls for you there, bud. We had them served up for you, but you're going to have to check it out a little bit later. Anyway, this is Tim Forshee, and Rhonda, glad to have you here. Rhonda, you were talking about the concealed carry class. This is Tim Forshee. This is the man who the most common sense, well-educated human being I've met when it comes to this topic. So without further ado, let's get to the second C of concealed carry, the two of the three, and let's take a look at this. Here we go. Tim Forshee is covering the three C's of concealed carry. The first, obviously, being concealed. The second is, what's the second C?
The second one would be common sense. So I snuck an S in there, but it still starts with a C. So yeah, common sense. And and as I always say, my dad always told me common sense isn't very common. And the older I get, the more that seems to be true to my interpretation as well. But just there's an old there's a gentleman named John Farnham. I don't know if anybody out there has ever had the wonderful episode of taking a class with John Farnham. He's amazing. And he's getting up there in years, and he's still teaching, but not as often. But we always call this Farnham's axiom. And Farnham's axiom is, don't do stupid stuff with stupid people in stupid places. And if you think about it, every time I got into trouble between the ages of about 14 and 24, I violated at least one of those three rules, if not all three, right? So don't do stupid stuff with stupid people in stupid places. You're 62 years old. Why are you at a strip joint at 2 a.m? Getting into fistfights? I think you violated all three of those rules, right? So if you can just sort of follow that guideline, I think that makes a lot of sense in terms of keeping you out of trouble. Is just don't do those three things. And then the other part of common sense that I always tell people that, again, isn't common enough is take classes, get trained. A lot of people buy a gun and they figure out how to load it. They look at the owner's manual and they throw it in their glove box and they say, okay, by God, I'm ready now. I'm ready. If anybody tries to carjack me, they're going to get an eyeful. And man, that's dangerous. I would rather you be unarmed than very, very inappropriately armed like that. So please get trained. Jeff Smith once said that, buying a guitar does not make you a musician. And I think a lot of people think that they buy a gun that makes them a gunfighter. And man, is that not true? That's like, I buy boxing gloves, I'm ready to take on Mike Tyson. No, you're not. You've got the gloves he's got. That's about it. So,
but how about it has to be a high percentage? It has to be a wildly high percentage of the people that purchase a firearm and just stick it in the nightstand and I am now protecting my castle.
I would say 80% or more have rarely, if ever, fired their gun. Yeah.
Rarely, if ever. You see that? Rarely, if ever, fired their firearm. Oh yeah, I got it in the nightstand. I'm totally gonna take somebody out. They come into my house. Let me tell you what, 80% rarely, if ever, have fired the firearm. Jeez Louise. Let's get back to
it. They buy a gun. They maybe take it shooting once. Then it goes in their nightstand or their glove box or the top dresser drawer, and they know they're armed and they know they're protected and they're good to go. And that's as far as it goes. Man, that is really dangerous. That is just like, I had one driving lesson when I was 16 years old, and now I can afford a car at age 58. I'm going to buy a car. Wow. I don't want to live in your neighborhood, right? I mean, that's a scary thing. So yeah, get some training, find a qualified trainer. There's lots of them out there. Get a good trainer to teach you how to shoot, to teach you not just how to stand and shoot, but how to move and shoot, how to hit moving targets. Take some tactical classes, low light shooting classes. Nobody takes low light shooting classes. And when I'm teaching my CCW class, I'll have 50 people in my class and I'll say, how many of you ever fired your pistol in darkness? And one or two hands go up. And a lot of people think, well, that's no big deal. But you realize, according to FBI data, 80% of all self-defense shootings occur in low or no light. And it's amazing how different it is to shoot in the dark than it is to shoot in the daylight. We do a low light shooting class. And when we finally get around to shooting, we turn the lights off on the range for about 2 minutes so people's eyes can adjust. And then we say, okay, commence fire. And 8 people will fire one round. And about 3 of them set their gun down and back away and say, I don't know what just happened, but I think my gun blew up. Can you take a look at my gun? They've never seen that big giant ball of fire that comes out of their gun before, and they think something's weird. You've got to figure out your gear. You got to figure out the whole scenario. How do you hold a flashlight? How do you use a flashlight? If you're in a residential living room with white painted walls and you illuminate 1,000 lumen flashlight, it's going to blind you and the bad guy. So you don't shine it at the wall. You bounce it off the ceiling or bounce it off the floor. Just some techniques that you need to learn, and they're fun to learn. The low light shooting classes are the funnest classes out there. But it's amazing how many people have zero experience with that. And that 4 out of 5 people, if you ever have to use your gun, it will be dark. So again, get training, get good, competent training, and then stay trained. And then from a lawyer's perspective, not only get the training, but document the fact that you got that training. Okay. If you get involved in a shooting 20 years from now, and you've got 5 3-ring binders showing me the 31 classes you've taken in the last 20 years, do you think the jury appreciates the time, money, and effort that you spent on training and being less likely to screw up? And the answer is they sure do. I've seen it firsthand. I've had jurors tell me that after trials. So common sense to me is don't do stupid stuff, get trained up, and be able to prove that you got trained up. I think if you can do those things, you're really, really a step ahead of the mob for sure.
Yeah, here's where I admit something. I'm not one of the guys that held my hand up. Tim, I'm just not. I didn't take a low light. I didn't even think of it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't. You know, I'm all about drilling and all that.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of it. I
I'll
didn't
get
even
into
think
them.
it.
Like they're not only are they really important, but they're a lot of fun. I mean,
bet.
about 3 times a year I shoot a match at night, and it's like every single time the next morning I'm on the internet buying gear. Oh, that broke, or that needs to be replaced, or that needs to be upgraded.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Did you think of it? Did you think of shooting in low light? I didn't. I didn't think of shooting in low light. Look, I'll tell you what, this guy's concealed carry course is $100. It's worth every penny. It's worth I mean, I would pay it. I'd be happy advertising it on the show for free if it was $250. That's how important it is. $100 to save your life. But to save you from jail. This again is one of the things Tim Forshee told me years and years ago. It's like most likely if you shoot somebody in your home, you're gonna get those pretty little bracelets on, and your hand's gonna be behind your back. You're gonna be in the back of a squad car. How you handle things after that, after the shot is actually fired, is makes and breaks all the difference. I'm telling you, it just makes all the difference. So let's get to the final thing. This is absolutely blow me away. I love this. This is one of the coolest things. The third C of concealed carry with Tim Forshee. The third C. So we have conceal. Make sure you don't need, nobody needs to know you got a gun. And again, 30% of all first responders that are killed in line of duty are killed with their own firearm because it's there and it's accessible. So conceal the dang thing. Second is common sense. Just don't do stupid things in stupid places with stupid people. Don't. So, and the third and final is the 3 C's of concealed carry. So concealment, common sense, which you're right, not very common.
And the last one,
what's the last?
The last one, which probably shouldn't be last, is, believe it or not, is just simply courtesy. I always tell people, if you're going to carry a gun, if in the 5th largest.
Hey, you didn't see that coming, did you? Courtesy? What do you mean? See, everybody thinks that concealed carry people and people that carry all the time have an EDC, which is everyday carry. So when I say EDC, that's what everyday carry is. In Alfred, yes, if ammo were cheaper, I'm telling you, I'd be all about that. But y'all think we're a bunch of, other people think we're a bunch of Yosemite Sams out there, rooting, tooting, shooting, and that kind of thing. No, that's not it. How about courtesy? That is fantastic. I love it. Let's go.
Just metropolitan area in the country, then I hope that when you put the gun on, it makes you more polite, more docile, more accommodating, not the opposite. If you're one of those people that when you put on a gun, you become Mr. Aggressive, by God, you're walking through the crowd, knocking people out of the way. People get out of my way. And if they mess with me, I'm going to shoot them. And it gives you the sense of security, the sense of vigilance, of being bulletproof and invisible. Then I always tell people, then don't carry a gun. You're going to wind up dead or in prison. So it should make you less likely to get into arguments, not more likely. It should make you more accommodating, not less accommodating. I always tell people that my mantra when I'm carrying a gun is, you're right, I am fat, my wife is being a bitch, can I please pay for your parking space? That's the way you look at it.
Okay.
Now, I think the guy's a raging a-hole, and I'm going to say a silent prayer that he wakes up tomorrow with a hemorrhoid the size of a volleyball because I hate his guts, but I'm not going to tell him that. I'm going to apologize for something he did and buy his dinner, and that'll be the smartest $30 I've ever spent in my entire life because it avoids a fight. And I could bore you and your listeners for hours with the stories of my clients who've gotten into a scrape, over a parking space or a spilled drink, or somebody asked somebody's girlfriend to dance. And it turns into a situation that becomes a nightmare. Shots are fired. Thankfully, the 2 that I'm thinking of, nobody died, but people were horribly injured. And they led to very long, very expensive, very risky trials where people lost their house. They lost their retirement. They nearly lost their freedom. One guy lost his marriage and his relationship with his daughter. And he got into a fight over who was taking what lane on the highway. I mean, literally, it's just let him have the lane and say a silent curse. I mean, but yeah, dealing with this up front, the way some people do it, it's just a nightmare waiting to happen. So I'm wrong. You're right. Anything else, just always be courteous to the point where it hurts to swallow that pill, but swallow that pill.
Okay. I actually had it's somewhat of an experience like that. I have a sidearm that's not concealed when I'm hunting, when I'm out hunting.
Yeah.
So
I do the same.
I'm not worried about anything but that mountain lion.
Right.
So I went home. I stopped at the store on the way home. Didn't even think about it. This young woman with her daughter just tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Sir, that's very intimidating." But I'm like, "Oh, I forgot I had the damn thing on," and I just pulled my shirt over it, and I actually went back to the truck and I put it away, and I went back in the store. But it wasn't even a kind of a challenging thing. It was a very polite, very courteous, like, "Oh shoot, you're right." That is intimidating for people. So do be courteous as the third C. How about that?
Yeah, exactly.
And I did really think of Chris Rock twice when we were having this conversation. Chris Rock, the great Oracle, in his hit song, "No Sex in the Champagne Room." He talks to the high school kids, and he said, if someone steps on your foot in the movie theater, let it slide.
Yeah,
there's no reason to spend the next 10 years of your life in jail because somebody smudged your Puma.
Exactly right. Exactly. And by the way, for those of you that didn't notice, Mike just said Chris Rock and hit in the same sentence. I was going to point that out.
Oh, okay. There you go. Nice. Okay. Yeah. He's always a big hit. Him and Will Smith. That's a great duo. It is a great duo. So that is it. The 3 C's. So concealment, common sense, and courtesy.
Yep.
And I think I think the third probably should be the top of the list there. Just get home to your family, y'all.
Yeah. What are you doing? Somebody steps on your shoe, big deal. It's a little too polished. What are you doing? Because I mean, maybe they say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I stepped on your shoe," or maybe they push you and you push them and they pull a knife and you pull a gun and there's a shooting over a scuffed shoe.
Yep.
And I've seen this case happen, that very similar stuff. So it's like, just come on, keep your priorities in check. Yeah.
Tim Forshee, you're the absolute best. And you are still training CCW classes at
I am, yeah. I'm still I do private classes as well, but I primarily do the classes at Scottsdale Gun Club. So that's about, I guess we say it's 3.5 classes a month because we do a weekday class every other month. So typically it's 3 classes every month. So yeah.
And do you still show clips from Archer and Pulp Fiction?
Pulp Fiction, yes, and we talk about Archer, but I don't have a clip from Archer, Mike. I need to add several. If I could,
I think that's the one. Yeah,
Archer is the gospel. If you folks, if you've never watched Archer, you're missing out. I don't really do adult cartoons, but man, this is like a way of life. That show is so well written.
It's so perfect. It's so perfect. Tim Forshee with the 3 C's of concealed carry. Thank you, Tim Forshee, and thank you guys for hanging out there. Yeah, I mean, for real, the guy's a genius. The guy isn't about, this is all right, and it's the Second Amendment, and I can do what I want here in Arizona. Fine, cool. But let's conceal that sucker. Let's use some common sense, and let's be courteous. I like it. I said it shouldn't be comfortable. It should be comforting. And Truman, yes, Archer truly is. And I'll go ahead and say that. It is probably the best show I've ever watched. Archer is probably the most well-written show I've ever watched. That and unfortunately, before Netflix took it over, Arrested Development, I think, was one of the funniest damn shows. Very similar. Actually, the mom from Arrested Development is in Archer as one of the voice actresses in Archer. Fantastic. Just absolutely. Just in time for the end. That's right, Grizz. Go back and watch this. If not, get onto YouTube. I'm going to do these in 3 separate days. I'm going to put all 3 of these together for Tim Forshee's 3 C's of concealed carry. So it's important it really truly is important to know all 3 of those and to get educated. He is at Scottsdale Gun Club, and again, it's $100 for his class, and I would highly recommend it. Maybe I'll call him up and see if we can get a discount code or something like that. But I mean, like I said, if it was double the price, I would say it's worth it. It is absolutely worth it. Again, a big happy birthday to the Queen Bee. And I'm going to go celebrate after Ion. And that's it. So we'll catch you tomorrow on FAFO Friday. You're damn right. Here we go on The Go Show, celebrating all things outdoors. This beautiful outdoor playground of the state, nation, world that we live in. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.